I'd like to ask James to start throwing out a couple poll questions so that I got a feel for who all is here. All right, because then I can tailor my remarks so that it's in line with who's in the audience. The first question has to do with, are you a startup or a small business? And on all of these questions, there's no right answer. We welcome all, but it's good to know the distinction between the two. So you'll see it pop up on your screen, I hope. And remember, a startup, if you've read More Good Jobs, then you know a startup is a company or organization that's introducing an innovation, whether it's a product or a service, but it's an innovation that's not yet widely embraced in the marketplace. That's number one. And number two, a startup has ambition to be growing towards a potentially national or global audience. That's a startup. A small business, on the other hand, is an offering that's already understood by most people in the market. And you're probably marketing to local customers as opposed to national or global. So we had that question put out there yet on the poll? Or does it show up in the chat?
I apologize. I'm new to polling and working on that diligently.
Okay. So then what you can do is just put in the chat, startup or small business. And then James will help tally them up and we'll move to the next question. So just insert, are you a startup or a small business? Okay. The next question has to do with, who's your customer? Is your customer a business or organization? In which case you'd be what we call B2B, business to business. Or is your customer a consumer? In which case you're selling your product or service directly to an end user consumer, in which case you're B2C. So please list in the chat, are you B2B or B2C? And I'm kind of looking at the chat here on the side, so I can see we got a mix. And I'm glad to see that the tilt on the B2B versus B2C is towards B2B, which is good because that's where my expertise is. And I'm learning all the time for both, but definitely stronger on B2B. The next thing is, do you have a marketing budget beyond just the commitment of staff? So usually if you are early stage, oftentimes we think about how do we generate new opportunities just by how we use our time. We're allocating our time, but we don't really have necessarily a budget. So this third question is, do you have a marketing budget that is beyond just how you're committing your staff? Do you have a defined marketing budget? So just say yes on budget or no defined marketing budget, okay? And my last question is, how many full-time team members do you have? Oh, there it is.
All right, there we go.
Oh,
got it up.
great. I see it. I see it on screen.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to make it a lot easier.
All right.
All right.
Oh, Mike Schiotti's joining us. Awesome.
Hey, we just saved several minutes here.
Yeah.
And by the way, this was a little bit on the fly because it was only this morning or yesterday that the decision was made to use Zoom because Google Meet does not have this polling capability. So this is a definite plus for us.
We are a startup in our own right and working through the processes.
We have to innovate on the fly.
Exactly. Nasser calls it building the plane on the way off the cliff. Yep.
All right. Let's move on then and move into this first category of marketing foundation. So when I think of what's the basics of marketing that we want to have under our belt that will then help drive a referral strategy, I go back to one statement that tries to capture this. If somebody wants to write this down, the goal is to narrow your target market to those who have the fattest wallet and the greatest pain your solution addresses. That's our challenge. Your target, your sweet spot is how I refer to it, is you figured out who's the narrow target market that has a fat wallet and the greatest pain for what your solution addresses. Okay? So why is that the marketing foundation? So going back to the early days of TriNet, and we're talking in the dinosaur age. I mean, this is in the early days of TriNet, it was an analog world, not a digital world. And our biggest challenge was that when I began the company, I thought I was a small business. I wanted to start a small business. I had this knowledge about HR, and I had worked in a very large organization as an HR generalist and kind of traveled around the world, had some really fantastic experience. But because it was a government organization, the commercial sector did not appreciate the value of my experience because I was worked for the government for too long. Nobody would hire me. And that's one of the reasons, that is the reason I had to become an entrepreneur. And so I wanted to be a small business person. I had this knowledge of HR, and I went out there and created this company, and I didn't realize it. I mean, I knew it was an innovation, and I knew it was not yet widely embraced in the market, because the idea of putting all these small businesses together on one platform and then having a solution that addresses their needs in a very different way than companies are used to doing, it was innovation the small business community wasn't ready to adopt. So I thought I was a small business, but really I was a startup. And I spent the first, probably the first 6 to 10 months failing miserably, really the first year, and just miserable failure. We're running out of cash, as we talk about in the book, Mortgage Jobs. And what saved the company was that as we were running out of cash, I came to this conclusion that instead of trying to sell TriNet services to the general small business community in the local area, which is a traditional small business strategy, I instead went back and went through this analysis of who has the fattest wallet, that has the greatest pain, that our solution, our TriNet solution, is ideally suited to solve. And then as I did that, it took me a couple of months to sort through all these different places we could have sold TriNet services to, and decided that the best target market with the fattest wallet, with the greatest amount of customer pain, that our solution was ideally suited for, were emerging growth technology companies that had venture capital. So they had investors, and as a result, they had a lot of pain that was related to growing their teams. Our solution was really well suited for it, and they had the money. Okay. So we then focused entirely on that sector and didn't do any other marketing other than that sector. Now, that's not to say that other companies didn't come knock on our door, and we maybe serviced an inbound lead that could have been outside that narrow focus, but we completely tuned our marketing so that everything we did spoke to, we are the experts in this category of companies. And that did a few things for us. Among other things, it caused us to tune our delivery model, because we were only working with these same kind of companies, and everything we did, every innovation in the company was tuned for our delivery of service to be spot on for what this narrow segment of customers needed. And everybody on the team, on the delivery side, also became knowledgeable of what are the needs of this kind of customer. In every piece of identity on the website, or at that point, we didn't have a website, our printed material, all right? And everything we went out with and every discussion I had, all was tuned to that target audience. And importantly, one of the attributes that went into my decision process on why that particular customer base would be the right one to focus on was because it was a tight enough group of customers, or the target market, that they would be talking to each other because we had meager resources. I was the only sales and marketing person. And when we did a good job in servicing a customer, that customer would tell their friends, and because their friends were peers in that same group of, this vertical market of emerging tech companies backed by venture capital, the word got around quickly and efficiently and allowed us to respond to referrals. This is how we built a referral business. And I do have a post on this, and we'll put this in the chat, or we'll have a summary of the different references that I'll make over the course of it. But this is the chat you'll find on my Babinec.com blog called Choosing Your Vertical Market Focus. And along the way, we'll also probably touch on an additional post that I got on the blog that is related to, if you're the chief salesperson, as most of us as principals are, how you lead that sales effort as a startup CEO is a worthwhile read as well. Okay, so with that, we went to market, and there's more detail in the book that talks about that effort of growing it. But it begins with that focused target market, with that idea of fat wallet, high amount of customer pain, customers that are talking to each other, and directing all operational and marketing identity to that specific target. The next step for us was to then go out and meet what I describe in the book in chapter 6, highly influential people. Because when you think about referral sources, everyone can be a referral source. But if you're like I was a one person operation for sales and marketing, then I had to be very conscious of the high opportunity cost of my time and not waste my time on things that were less than having great potential for giving us a stream of referrals. And so when it comes to especially business to business services, then the importance of that in developing a referral network is realizing it's not only bumping into potential prospects, but bumping into who are the trusted advisors of the prospect. All right. So in the case of emerging growth technology companies, those trusted advisors would be their attorneys, their financial service provider, if they have an accountant. All right. They might have a marketing consultant. They might have an IT consultant. All those would be potential referral sources that were already in the trusted circle of people that the CEO or CFO of the company that we wanted to get to, they would have relationships with these trusted sources. So we put our thinking cap on and said, not only where are the groups that are meeting, where the prospects are hanging out, but oftentimes wherever the prospects are hanging out is where the trusted advisors are hanging out. So if you imagine, if you're focused on a narrow market and you're saying, where are my prospects hanging out? And are the trusted advisors who are also selling their services to the same prospects that we're trying to reach in TriNet, then I spent as much time courting referral sources who were trusted advisors as I did courting the prospects. Because by putting that energy into developing the referral sources, we then had the opportunity to cultivate a relationship with a referral source that could send multiple prospects. All right, not rocket science. And in the book, chapter 6, Engaging Highly Influential People, we list some of the attributes, all right, such as being credible. We want, when it comes to referral sources, we want people who are credible in their community, where they've got a reputation, where they have the trust of not only your prospects, but others in a narrowly defined target market. It's usually an ecosystem, meaning they're in touch with the other referral sources. So they're credible in the community. These are busy people. And because they're busy people who have high opportunity cost of their time, they're also hard to get to. And as a result, they have difficulty carving out time for things that are less than productive for them. So how do you get highly influential people to spend time when you're early stage? The answer is give first. And as we talk about in the book, giving first, including in both chapter 6 and in chapter 5, where we talk about the Magnet City ethos, give first comes about by having some curiosity. And instead of falling into the trap as a rookie entrepreneur, I did in the first year of our business, where I'd meet somebody and the first thing I'd want to do is spill my guts out on, here are the features and benefits of TriNet services. Wrong approach. The better approach to develop a relationship is to show curiosity, to ask questions, to understand what are the interests of who you are talking to. And there are a variety of different ways to go at that. Among the resources that I would point people towards would be even in the leading sales as a startup CEO, we mentioned that. There's also a book here, which I will throw up on the screen, called the You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. Whoops, wrong screen here. We'll put that in the chat. That's the name of the book. You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. Will help you get prompted with what are the questions you can ask, as well as one of my favorite books, referenced several times in Mortgage Jobs, a book called Meet 100 People. And Meet 100 People is a fantastic resource that has, if you visit the website, and the only place you can get the book is through this website, meet100people.com. And if you do visit the book, take a look at their blog posts, and she's got some great actionable guidance on building your network, overcoming your fears of talking to strangers, and understanding how to interact with people and build relationships. This is an easy read, highly valued, highly recommended resource. All right, so now you've met somebody, you're cultivating the relationship. How do you carry that forward beyond an initial meeting? And this is where rookies often make the mistake of, I reach out and thank somebody after I met them, and then it drops off the radar, and expect that as a result of one meeting, that person you've met is, if they're interested, they'll follow up with you. And what's necessary to build a referral base of raving fans is to have a constant care and feeding process, where you are providing updates, you're giving first, you're finding out what's happening for someone who is a highly influential person that you're trying to cultivate a relationship with. Can you go on Google News and set up an alert? So if something gets published about that high value target, you might get an alert about it. Can you follow their social media? What are they posting? What comments did they make if they posted to someone else's blog or LinkedIn? These are clues. You can't do it with every person you meet, but if you've really developed a short list of who are the highly influential people that would make great referral sources, and by the way, the same strategy works for prospects that could be great prospects for your business, gather the intelligence to know what's important to them, and then look for the opportunity to give first. Now, in order to do this, it requires a system. And the system has to include keeping track in some kind of database, even if it's as simple as Google Contacts, where you are tracking every interaction with that particular person and scheduling your next one on your calendar so that relationships are cultivated with multiple exposures. And ideally, as we get back to having events in person, which we hope is right around the corner here at the close of COVID, or at least are easing away from being everything in a virtual, being able to show up at events, meeting people in person. And if it's an event, ideally that is a recurring event, meaning the same group of prospects and referral sources, you're going to an event that's happening on a monthly or quarterly basis. It's repeated exposure in the same group that helps build awareness. And with every interaction, keeping track of it and scheduling the follow-ups. One last note before we go to summary and move on to see if anyone would like to have a consult would be the highest value that you can bring to someone who you're trying to nurture a relationship with is, of course, referral. And a referral that is of value to the recipient. And as I've mentioned in More Good Jobs, I think it's chapter 5, where we talk about double opt-in referrals, all right? And it's a very important point. And what is a double opt-in referral? Suppose a highly influential person you've met, you're thinking, I know the perfect person that I should refer this person to. And you just lob the referral into this highly influential person without checking with them first to see if they're interested. That's not a good move. You may actually step back and have it, a bad referral causes you to lose credibility with your target. So with a double opt-in, if you're trying to refer to your highly influential person a resource you think that highly influential person is going to find value in, first go to whoever you're going to refer and say, you know, I know this highly influential person over here. I think this is how you can help that person. Does that make sense to you? Are you interested in meeting this highly influential person? And would you be able to add value? This is how I think you can add value. Does that make sense to you? So you qualify it first on the party you're going to refer, and then you go to the highly influential person and say, you know, I know Bob over here. I think he can help you do this. He's expressed interest. Would you be okay in my referring you? That's double opt-in. That way you boost credibility with both ends of the referral source. And by the way, because you're keeping a system tracking every referral, highly influential person in your CRM or your contact database of whatever you're using, you're able to build a referral tree that should be able to point to every new piece of business you have. Where did it come from? What were the steps that led to that new piece of business? And from there, you'll keep tuning your marketing message. Now, I've kind of gone over budget. So I said it was going to be 25 minutes and it's 32, but we still have some time for doing a consult, and then we can close up with some questions and answers and stay within the hour. So now we'll ask, is anyone interested in having a consult so I can walk through what is your current process to build referral sources and see how we might expand on it? If you're interested, put your name in the chat. And if we have No interest, that's okay. I mean, I can ramble on a little bit and we can just open up the general questions. And I'm going to ask for James' help, who is familiar with several of you, to help me select who's the right party for us to start with. And since we have more than one that says they're interested, we'll try to slip in 2 consults and still leave a little bit of time for some closing Q&A.
Okay. Awesome. Adrian, why don't we start with you? You answered first. How about that?
So Adrian, let's talk about your business. I think we've had some contact, but since this is before the group, we kind of have to start at the beginning. Let's share a little bit about, are you a startup or a small business?
We're a small business that's
Okay.
mostly business to consumer business. And it's just myself and my husband at this point. And what we do is we do custom fine jewelry. So we kind of work with people to understand what piece would be really unique to them, sketch it out, then manufacture it, videotape it along the way, and then present it to them.
Okay. So since it is a business to consumer, which by the way, James, when we get to the second consult, let's choose a B2B company on the second consult. All right. On a B2C side, the for your service, because it's a higher ticket service, like what would be your net margin after a sale? So like you have your gross margin represents kind of like your gross sale represents the total amount that you bill. But what do you have left after you've paid for the cost of the product? What percentage? What is the dollar amount of the sale? And what's your percentage net margin after taking out your cost of goods sold?
Our pieces vary because we are basing it on the type of material, and we do sterling silver all the way to gold. But in terms of cost, 2/3 of it usually goes to the material, the labor, and then overhead, and then 1/3 is theoretically profit when
Okay.
you actually get that far.
Okay. And so average ticket price for the ones that you've been able to sell?
So we try to stay a minimum of like $400 plus, and that would be like a sterling silver. And then gold usually is in the like 8, 9, or thousands range.
Okay. All right. So let's say, just for the sake of discussion, at $1,000 and a 30% margin, that is like a $300 per of net margin per sale, and it's the higher end of your range. All right. And remember, if for all entrepreneurs, whether it's B2C or B2B, we always want to know, we want to track what is our cost of acquiring a customer. Because what we want to do is we want to know 2 things. We want to know the lifetime value of the customer. And if Adrian sells more than one piece of jewelry, if there's a happy customer, you see how many there are, how many future pieces they buy, that can grow. And that's the lifetime value of the customer, with the more mature your model. And then number 2, you want to know your cost of acquiring a customer, what was spent in marketing and sales to get the customer. And do you have a marketing budget, Adrian?
No, nothing.
Okay.
We'll occasionally spend a couple hundred here and there for.
And when you spend the budget, what kind of allocations are you making for your marketing expenses?
Some of it's just reaching out directly, so kind of like a direct mail that's personalized directly to them, or maybe something online that would assist us to reach more people.
Okay. All right. So if you were to step back and say, who could refer you? Who is speaking to, actually, before I ask that question, I should ask, how do you define the sweet spot customer? So that's your offering. This is what you're selling. What are the demographics or characteristics of the sweet spot? Who has the fattest wallet? And yours is selling pleasure, not pain. By the way, it's the avoidance of pain is a bigger motivator than the pursuit of pleasure. And that's out of the, whoops, you can't teach a kid to ride a bicycle, all right? The avoidance of pain is a bigger motivator. So you're selling pleasure, but are there any attributes of your sweet spot customer that you can hone in on?
Yeah, so I think part of it is if it's a guy, hopefully in the tech field, so he has a decent income, and they definitely need a gift in the next couple of weeks for a birthday or anniversary. So that's kind of like our ideal person that we're targeting.
Okay. Now, that's a good marketing focus. Guys that are looking for a birthday or anniversary or Valentine's Day or some special, guys looking for a special occasion gift. All right. Now, has your website been tuned to reflect that being your focus?
We did put that wording right at the top in terms of we start off our website saying, are you looking for a unique gift? And we kind of go from there.
But not necessarily, are you a guy looking to give a special occasion gift?
No.
All right, so see what I mean by a narrower focus. All right.
Okay.
So with that being a narrower focus, just playing out the logic here, the next step becomes, where might you get into certain circles that would allow you to meet sources that would have an interest in referring a guy looking for a special occasion gift?
We kind of talked about maybe a little bit some different options is to try to get to tech circles and engineers or computer people. We've also talked a little bit of like golf circles. That might be another option on the table.
Okay. Certainly when it comes to digital marketing, you can tune your digital marketing through things like Facebook and Twitter. There are different options so that you can tune into a particular demographic and get some messages beamed to them. So that's a digital marketing approach. But my question is also to be thinking through, are there groups that you could approach where these people hang out? Who might be advising? Who do those guys might be hanging out with for other reasons that would have an interest in referring you? All right. And again, I don't think enough about the B2C side to have the answers here, but that's the question that I would raise is where do they hang out? All right. So it's not only direct digital marketing through Facebook and social media and potentially buying lists, but are there groups that are going online that you could drop in and see what's the chatter and what else are they subscribing to? All right. Is there free information that you can make available to sources to pass on to those in that demographic? Like, who else might that demographic be speaking with? So those, again, I'll acknowledge that I'm not so deep in the B2C side, but from following that logic of, you want to build friends and you want to make it easy and inviting even for your existing customers, so that your existing customers who have bought from you represent clearly a path that you have a relationship with, and you want to make it easy and inviting for them to refer their friends. So the more that you are able to do in making it easy and inviting for them to refer, the better. And can you do that in a way that's giving them some input that's useful for them beyond just saying, give me more business? So even though the nature of what you are selling is high-end custom jewelry for special occasion, what else would that guy that you have in mind, what could you send, what would be worthwhile in your newsletter that you might be able to send that guy that's not selling your service, but giving something first of value to that guy so that he will click on your emails and read them and maybe follow your social media? So if your social media only talks about your product that you're selling and is not adding additional value to your buyer, then you're missing an opportunity. All right. So we generate repeat business and we generate referrals by also giving first without saying that the only reason I'm giving you this information is to have you suggest a friend. All right. I'm giving you this information because I want to help you, the customer. All right. And the more we can give first without kind of hammering them for the referral, referrals will follow because you're adding value. And that's the challenge for all of us as marketers and as entrepreneurs, is how can we add value without making it a blatant sales pitch?
Looks like Josh may have a question, then we'll move on to a B2B example. Does that sound all right?
Okay.
Josh?
Well, I just had an additional comment on it. Since it is a B2C and you're looking for a certain area, a specific type of customer, some of the things that I would try is like insurance agencies. I've worked in insurance agencies and financial services where we've had people come in and we had a tailor that offered their service. They would come and tailor shirts for us in the office. And it's something that, hey, busy executives, people that are traveling a lot, you don't have a lot of time to go shopping, we can assist you on that. Or something like at the Tech Garden, maybe even at StartFest, you could hang up that this is an executive package or an entrepreneur's package that you offer. And that way it's not as gender specific, but you are targeting an area that does have, it does typically end up being male in those environments.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Great comments, Josh. Spot on. All right, let's pick a B2B.
eWay with Accu GPS.
All right.
Thanks, James.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the co-founder of the company called Accu GPS. We are a technology company, and and also we can, maybe you can see in the chart, we are small business and also startup. So small business part, we provide the fleet management solutions, and from the GPS tracking service, vehicle diagnostics, and vehicle dash cameras. And right now we focus on the dash camera for both live stream and upload for the access of the video clips. And for the IoT part, we provide some like smart lock, which is not really popular at this moment. So we think this is very innovative, use the one key feed all lock. So this kind of a solution use the cloud service to get that solution down in place. So basically, both for the fleet management solutions and IoT is end users plus the sensors, cloud, and wireless communication. This is all the same loop. So that's what we do as a technology company. We're based on in Syracuse.
And when you say, all right, these are both fleet management solutions, describe the decision maker. Who is the buyer?
Yes, there's is fleet owners or small business owners. So whoever have the fleet of the vehicles should be our customers.
Okay. But to narrow that, there's a lot of different categories of fleets. All right.
Sure.
So let's talk about the sweet spot. So within that broad range of, different size of fleets, for example, or also long haul versus local, narrow down who's the sweet spot prospect that when you run into them, you say, wow, we're going to get this one because they fit our profile. What does that look like?
Yeah, I actually said, Martin, I really like you said the fattest wallet with the greatest pen.
Yes.
So these two verticals we identified actually last year because of the COVID. So one is ambulance service, EMS service. The second is sanitation. So both of those industries really benefit from the COVID. So I'm not a spare biased, no political view here, but it's basically this both industries have big business growing last year. So, and they need our service, and we put our service into their, into their operation and save them a lot of money and increase their safety and the efficiencies of the operation.
And now, when I think of EMS and sanitation, a question comes to mind as what percentage of those are public, as in government entity, versus private, which are companies?
Yes, government is hard to deal with. And
Yes.
I have been done that in the 5 years.
All right.
I stay the hope all the time,
Yes.
never get a deal done.
Right.
I'm sorry. So and we get a lot for private companies and get a lot of interesting from them.
Okay, so now I'm on the same page. Don't try to sell to government when you're a startup, by the way. I mean, any of us that have been there will tell you, don't try to sell to government when you're a startup.
Thank you.
All right. EMS and sanitation private companies then, how about size of company?
Right now is that because we're small business, so the size right now we are targeted as from the vehicles from 20 to 200.
Okay, so 20 to 200 vehicles in the fleet.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I wouldn't call you a small business. All right. Even if your company is small, you're building something that is an innovation in the marketplace. It's not yet widely embraced. And you have potential, I hope, ambition to be selling to a national or global audience over time.
You're right.
Today, you're working on relationships that are in front of you, but there is a path for you to be national or global. So
Yes.
you are a startup in my eyes.
Thank you.
Right? And so with that focus, now, where are these people who are the fleet managers for companies that size? Where do they hang out?
Good questions. Really is that in the past few years, we're doing the direct sales and we don't have this kind of referral programs. And we don't understand what the referral meant to the business owners, because I think the first one, we have to make sure our service really to make them satisfied first. So we're working, I think that part we passed. And the second part is that how can make them to refer us. Actually, is really starting to refer us, early this year. And so because we have the camera solutions and we provided the solutions to them to get a lot of insurance engaged. So basically, just because you use our camera solutions, and the insurance company give them premier discount, and also that save up insurance companies' investigation efforts, because they can effortlessly access all the videos in and out for the vehicles to get the conclusion about the incidents. So we're working with two agencies. One is one of the largest insurance company local in Cortland. Another is DOT compliance service company in Long Island. So they are refer us to their customers.
Okay. So
which insurance company in sorry, can I interrupt? Which insurance? What's that?
McLeod.
Yeah, the ones that just gave us $7 million to start the risk management program. Yeah,
Oh, really?
Family.
Okay.
Yeah. That's, and Martin, I don't mean to interrupt, but I did want to, at some point, I know we have like 9 minutes to go, make a comment relative to this endeavor. But
okay,
back to you.
Thank you.
This, this is why it's good to do these things interactively, because things get discovered in terms of connections that we otherwise wouldn't see. All right. And this logic should apply to future meetings as well. This is why doing things interactively can work. All right. So insurance companies and who else besides insurance companies could represent having a reason to refer you? What other advisors do these fleet managers have? Who are they speaking with? So when I say who are the prospective buyers hanging out with, insurance companies is one. Where are they getting their vehicles serviced? All
yes.
right. Who does their accounting? Who specializes in helping fleet managers? What other services are the fleet managers availing themselves of? So
Yes.
put yourself in the shoes of the fleet manager and you interview some of them and ask them, who are the people that are your trusted sources? And what are their industries? What kind of services, what other services are you depending on? Right. And you may get some introductions just by asking the question. Target that profile of the sweet spot referral source. The insurance companies makes perfect sense, because if they're ready to see savings in insurance, there's a win-win. But my philosophy is very, very important to have this one point here. Companies don't make referrals. People do. All right. People do. So it's true. You could set up a situation where you can have a company that says they have a referral process, but the fact is you need a person to give the referral. So these steps that we talked about earlier, where you have to have a tracking system recording every interaction with highly influential people that you're trying to cultivate the relationship with, so that you can see not only what is your history of your interactions with that highly influential person and targeted referral source, but scheduling your next opportunity with them and thinking through how are you going to give something of value to that referral source beyond saying, we got this great service here and I want you to refer me the next deal. Because if all you're doing is saying, help me get my next sale, that's not giving first. All right. The way you build trust and confidence is be curious, understand their needs, understand the referral source's needs enough that you can find some value to bring to them, and that will come back to you with the referrals that you seek, because now you're giving value beyond just saying, oh, we're going to help you in the insurance company do the things that'll bring down premiums so the insurance company makes money. Your ability to go to the insurance company and say, here is a prospective new customer for you, because you're talking to fleet managers. When you could take one of your customers who's the fleet manager who is not in that insurance company and move them to that insurance company, now you are a valued referral source. And that referral source will come back to you with more opportunities. All right. So I want to stop here because Jim wanted to make a quick contribution following on, and then we might have a minute or two for any other follow-ons. You can put a question in the chat and we'll see whatever minutes we have left to answer them. But thanks for sharing that as you did, Vivi.
Thanks, Martin.
All right. Jim?
That was terrific, Martin, the whole 55 minutes, 56 minutes. Thank you. When I answered that we are a business school that has startups within it, you may have thought, oh, the Keenan Center and all the student businesses and the Dolphin Tank, et cetera. I was actually referring to the McNeil Academy for Risk Management Insurance. We are now networking with, this has pulled me into an industry that dates back to 1853 in upstate New York. There are 30 companies that are over 100 years old, mutual insurance companies, not agencies, multi-billion-dollar asset, hundreds of millions in sales, thousands of employees all across New York State. And we're just starting to network within them. We've built the program. We've got 25 students in it. We're solving a problem, like you said. We're solving a problem because everybody's nervous about the aging out of baby boomers and who the heck is going to want to move to Edmonston, New York, or New Berlin, or Clyde, or Chautauqua, on and on, right? We're going to feed them. And we went to the big pockets first. Dan McNeil started it with 7 million, Utica National 250,000, New York Central Mutual 150,000, Preferred in New Berlin 100,000, Utica First 50,000, and on and on. So I just wanted to put that out there. If that resonates with anybody. And do you pronounce Yiwei? Yiwei?
I always think the easy way, how do you pronounce?
Yeah, well, I sat on the Beijing Center board for 4 years, so I think you and I probably have a number of things to talk about.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jim. Josh mentioned in the chat the Bridge app, which, yes, I am familiar with it. The link for it is there in the chat. Definitely encourage people to check it out as a tool that can help in your referral process. And I experiment with a number of tools, and Bridge included, and have not settled on a referral app tool. In fact, I did try to build one. If anyone really looks at my history, would find in my history a company called TriNet, which is a story for another day. And that journey of what we're going to do in building the right referral network is still unfolding. But I will say the current experiment is the More Good Jobs community. So my hope here as we close out this hour is that you might think about who do you know that could benefit from being part of the More Good Jobs community. If this session has been helpful to you, think about other entrepreneurs, other people that want to support entrepreneurs, and encourage them to consider joining the More Good Jobs community. And stay tuned for more events. We got a lot of exciting stuff that's coming forward. I'm glad to have been on the call here, and looking forward to seeing you online in the More Good Jobs community and in other events. Thank you. And thank you, James, Chomar, and Lemoyne for hosting.
I'll add here, in the spirit of paying it forward to all these entrepreneurs, if you aren't part of More Good Jobs, please join and post about something you've learned today to share with others, especially those who haven't been on the call, to contribute to each other. That's sort of the spirit of having now an opportunity to engage with each other on there. The other little pitch I'll make is the first Thursday of every month, Martin has office hours that are open to entrepreneurs who are on there, and we sign everybody up through there. So if you're interested and didn't get a chance to engage today, that'll be an opportunity. Probably the first week in June, we'll have that posted. So you'll find out about that through the More Good Jobs app. So make that pitch.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.